Fight Fiend Forecast is back, ready to attack in Philadelphia. UFC 330 going down here. Full card prediction show, starting it off with the first fight of the night. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe here now. Before we get going, check out all platforms, IG, X, Discord's absolutely free and actively growing. We got Icy MMA Toad in there, so check out Discord. It's absolutely free. One of the best Discords in the game with all sports included there. Telegram not active there. TikTok got a little bit going there, so make sure you're following on TikTok. Patreon is where you can join to see all bets I do make, all sports. Stay forecasted and become a forecaster in Discord for free. Like and subscribe. Before we get going, don't forget, like and subscribe. Drop a comment. Let me know your favorite pick this week, your favorite underdog. Quick picks. We're live Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Normally 4 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesdays. It could change depending on the week, but normally 4 p.m. Eastern time. We go through the quick picks. Community can be involved with their logo, so check it out. Stay forecasted. Prop Fiends are back Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern time instead of Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Another doubleheader. Just going to schedule it Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern time this week. So let's get it going. First fight of the night in Philadelphia. We got Jeremiah Wells, 13-4-1, stepping in as the biggest betting underdog at UFC 330. He fights MYKTYBEK OROLBAI. Now, MYKTYBEK OROLBAI here is a very well-trained fighter under the likes of Uriah Faber and crew, and they're just giving him somewhat of an easy fight in this one. It seems like a step down. He's on a 3-fight win streak. He fought Jack Hermanson, Chris Curtis in his last bout, and I feel like this one might even just be a little bit of a step down in competition from those two guys. Jeremiah Wells still very good, but he is 39 years old, and he can get out wrestled in this one to MYKTYBEK OROLBAI, who's going to be younger, throwing with more intent as well. OROLBAI landing with damage. He can take a punch too. He went to a split decision with Mateusz Rebecki and probably got the best of him in that one. Lost the split decision, but he was a brute. And you look at Musayev, who looked good in his last fight there. His last two beat Bahamondes and then Ludovic Klein. OROLBAI went to the ground, found that Kimura round one. Now that was Musayev's first fight in the UFC, and no harm, no foul. But look at some other wins for OROLBAI on here. Uros Medic, the neck crank in that fight. That was his UFC debut. Goes out and beats Uros Medic with the neck crank. He's very good on the ground, and I see Jeremiah Wells having a little bit of trouble there. On the feet, he packs a punch, can probably hold his own unless he gets hit with something big, but he's only been submitted once, the only time he's ever been finished. So majority of the time, out of those 4 losses, 3 of them are going to a scorecard, and he's on the wrong end of it. Now, he could be on the wrong end of a scorecard in this fight, but with the price, I do like the submission upside for OROLBAI in this fight. The anaconda choke from Carlston Harris was the third last fight for Wells in his career and his second last loss in 2023. So the finish came somewhat recent, and his level of competition still lower than OROLBAI on a 3-fight win streak. He just beat Themba Greenbow, Matthew Schemlisberger, Court McGee, Blood Diamond, Warley Alvaz, and you got OROLBAI, who beat Musayev, Chris Curtis in his last bout, and Jack Hermanson. All of them rightfully, potentially a step down in competition. They're given the odds. I think the finish will occur. Now let's call that submission in this first fight of the night. And it could be a prop of the week on the Prop Fiend show. Certainly looking at it this week. The next one, MAGNY and RAMIZ BRAHIMAJ. Interesting odds, I know Tapology and a lot of people are siding with Neil Magny in this fight. He is the older fighter. I'm going to side with him too. He has a reach advantage in this fight. He's known to pick up later in fights, find his reads, find his rhythm. But he could be starched. He could be caught in something early. It's not impossible. Now, the odds indicate RAMIZ is favored in this fight, which kind of concerns me, him being the betting favorite when 70% on Neil Magny. We'll double check that now. Yeah, we got near 70% on Neil Magny here out of 3,500 picks on Tapology. The community's pretty sharp, and so are the bookies. So you just got to compare it when there's that big of a differential. Just be a little careful. Sometimes we don't know what we're doing, and the bookies are just smarter than us. So I'd be a little concerned with the odds here, but I like Neil Magny with the reach advantage, the strength of schedule, and I don't think he's fallen off too much yet. He's not slowing down. I know it's later in his career, 2 wins out of the last 5, but still good wins there. Jake Matthews, Zaleski DeSantos still can put up a fight, and his losses have aged well. Carlos Prates, Michael Morales, Amazov, very good losses at a much higher level than RAMIZ BRAHIMAJ in this fight, who just lost to Punahele Soriano by a decision. Also took a loss to Themba Grimbo by a decision. Knocked out Mickey Gall, Billy Ray Goff, and submitted Austin Vanderford. So strength of the schedule clearly points in the Neil Magny side. Concerned with the odds, but we'll see if they flip by the end of the week here, as I think they should, as Tapology is so confident in this slight betting underdog Neil Magny. Now, I don't think he's slowing down too much yet. Just tough losses, really tough losses. Always fights really tough guys. Now, we'll see what BRAHIMAJ can put up in this fight, what kind of fight he can put up, because it's clearly submission or bust, in my opinion. Never won a decision. He's 0-6 to the decision column, BRAHIMAJ, and has 12 submission wins out of his 13. So clearly submission or bust. 10 of those submissions in round 1 as well. So cardio late, a little bit questionable. You look at the Neil Magny side, he has a couple of round 3 finishes there. He actually has 7 round 3 finishes. So maybe another round 3 could be in play here. 4 finishes in that second round. No, 6 in the second round, and only 1 first round finish for Neil Magny. 17 wins by a decision. 17-3 to the decision is Neil Magny, and 0-6 to the decision is BRAHIMAJ. The only thing that's really scaring me here are the odds. Next fight, odds a little wide here for sure. Both guys coming in off a loss in their first appearance, rather if it was on the Contender Series or their debut, where it wasn't really expected. Now, both get another chance. Odds fairly wide. Might want this one to pick them, but I'll go with the minus 285 betting favorite Lucas Fernando here, 13-3 on a big win streak here, 4 consecutive wins at the LFA. And he's the champ there. He's looking very good since that fight to Cesar Almeida on the Contender Series. And I think even by a decision, he can win. He's going to be the bigger fighter here. Just looking at the reach advantage, right? He should be able to pick his shots at range, stay at distance, and stay safe. I'm not necessarily calling that finish, but definitely can see him pointing his way to a decision versus Tobias, who was very tough. His last win did age well, held up to a decision. So I think he can eat a couple shots, especially go 15, put up a fight like he wants to be here. You know what I mean? Not just get too reckless with it. In his last fight, certainly some adjustments to make. I don't think he'll get too crazy wild in there with it. And he's not going to probably cry about his last loss. That was a respectful one. He was 14-1 going into that fight. He should still have confidence. This is a barn burner that I think is going 15 minutes. Both guys should still have confidence. Obviously more on the Fernando side on a 4-fight win streak and LFA champion. I do believe we'll bring that up. Yeah, got the belt and defended it. So maybe a reason why he is such a big favorite. I think he's going to need a decision, and I do believe Tobias will make a couple improvements from his last fight and adjust a little bit to make it a competitive fight for 15. Show his durability at times too. I don't know if Fernando is going to be able to find the knockout. He obviously did in his last 2 fights. His first 2 fights off Contender Series, he actually he lost the first one to Azamat Bekoyev by a decision at LFA, but the next 2 wins on the win streak were by a decision. So it was just in the last 2 fights on that 4-fight win streak where Fernando started to find it on the feet. Will he find it in this one? I'm going to say he needs the decision here. Tapology, 75% confident Fernando will find it on the feet, but I will be somewhat confident it goes 15 in this one. 3rd fight of the night. 4th one. Now we go and talk about the odds again. Obviously, another popular pick. Underdog. Vicente Luque, 24-12. Very good strength of schedule. Fought very good competition. But he is moving up to middleweight. Unless I have this incorrect. Double check it here. Yeah, it's at middleweight. So Luque is moving up the weight class. I don't see it benefiting him a whole lot, especially in the striking department. When I think of this fight, I just think TRESEAN Gore being a little bit younger, having less damage, can not only eat more on the feet, be a good nail. He can be a good hammer. And I don't know if I trust Luque as the nail, where I do trust Gore to an extent, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, both guys good on the ground, can lock up a submission at any point, but on the feet where every fight takes place and starts, usually on the feet, I kind of lean Gore with the power in this one and the ability to be durable and eat some shots. I want my guy to be able to eat a couple shots, walk through the storm. And Gore did that in his last fight. Came back in round 3, got the submission win. Can Luque walk through the storm? Can you trust him to walk through the storm? I'm not 100% sure I can. He's had a much longer career, had way more damage over the last number of years. Now, Gore's only 6-4, and he's a slight favorite. And what's most concerning is, say, Luque is favored by the public, and 70% are picking him to win. Kind of like the Neil Magny fight, honestly. Now, Gore, if he grows as a favorite, or RAMIZ, BRAHIMAJ, very interesting stuff. With Gore, I'll actually make him my pick in this fight, trusting him more in the feet and late in the fight as well. Kind of like Magny, I trust Magny on the feet and later in the fight. There's no serious reach advantage in this fight. And obviously, one guy has taken more damage through the extent of his career. Now, I'm not thinking someone's going to get deleted in this fight or say it goes to the ground and gets submitted. There's possibilities of that. But this might be another decision win for TRESEAN Gore. Because you look at Luque versus Joel Alvarez, who's on this card, and I go back and look at the stats, and I mean, like 30 out of 100 strikes, terrible accuracy, and definitely not going to make too much more improvements off that at his age right now. Probably past his prime. I don't think I'm too crazy saying that. Very respectful, Vicente, but he's probably a bit past his prime, and he is pretty low output, and he can be beaten to the punch. And how much beaten can he take is the question. Now, I'll agree with the bookies here. I'll be very cautious on the Neil Magny fight. I'll pick Magny. Be careful with it. But I'll confidently pick TRESEAN Gore in this fight. I know it's 6-4 record. You look at it at first, and you don't overly want to trust it against Vicente Luque, who has fought the best of the best. And recent losses to Joel Alvarez, Kevin Holland, Joaquin Buckley. But I'm going to say Gore goes out here and lands more volume, lands the harder shot, can be more durable, have the gas in the third, showing us his heart that he wants to be here in the UFC, and he gets to win. UFC 330. TRESEAN Gore. Now, possibly we decode a couple fights this week. Possibly looking at this one as Vicente Luque is fighting his 38th fight. And he can fall 3-8 in the decision column. Dante Johnson, 8-0 undefeated. I like the price, some value here over Eric McConico, 11-4. But McConico has fought to very strong competition, thrown to the wolves to an extent here early in the UFC. Fought Basengur, Serkaev, even him, took him to round 3. Basengur at times can be super patient, kind of play with his food, but McConico still goes out there in his last fight and proves he's kind of UFC caliber, beats Rodolfo Vieira, and makes it look kind of easy. Now, Vieira's pretty decent, can get the fight to the ground normally, and have a great ability to get the submission. But we've seen the struggles he had. Now, Dante, who is still kind of green in his career, 27, has lots of room to improve, might have the same struggles as Rodolfo Vieira. So I'm not overly confident in Dante, but I think he can implement his game plan to go out here and beat Eric McConico. This is another guy that might need a decision. This is competitive, in my opinion, for the most part. Unless Dante can land a Hail Mary shot, he'll be looking for those looping shots, especially early outside of round 1. If he's not landing that looping shot, I'm thinking that the longer it goes, it starts to favor McConico, who's 36, still has some fight left in him, some fire under his ass, and he might go for it. Now, the finish late might be more alive for McConico. Although the pick's Dante Johnson, he could be fighting like a dog, upset by a decision, making round 2 close, even round 1. I don't want to be overly confident on the Dante Johnson side. We clearly just seen him go out there with Cody Brundage to a split decision. He submitted SD Dumas with a guillotine choke, and his opponent before that, it was a Dana White Contender Series fight to a 7-4 opponent, Darian Abbey, who is not UFC caliber in my opinion. So never been tested is Dante Johnson 8-0. Never really been tested. He's 8-0, never honestly been tested a whole lot now. Split decision to Cody Brundage on the regional scene, beat a 6-7 opponent, 3-0 opponent. You just see Eric McConico having the potential in this fight. You know what I'm saying? Goes out there, beats Cody Brundage by a split decision as well. But went to round 3 with Basengur, Serkaev, and Nursultan Ruzaboev. He was in that fight. Yeah, he got finished, but he's thrown to the wolves and has been in there with the better competition, if we're not going to lie here. All 4 losses for him, though, come by knockout. He is 4-0 to the decision. That's something to note. Goes later, goes to the scorecards. You got Eric McConico 4-0 to the decision here. Dante Johnson to the scorecards. He's only 1-0. And he has 6 knockouts round 1 out of his 8 wins. And then a round 2 submission. So you're not seeing Johnson get out of that first round a whole lot. And in that last fight with Cody Brundage, we obviously seen the dangers of what could happen. I wouldn't want to be too confident on him for sure, but I can see him implementing his game plan to win another decision. Might be sweaty, might be one you want to leave off parlays, but I'm picking Dante Johnson. And there's a little value here if he can go out and get the finish and knockout over McConico. All 4 times he lost was by KO. Just would not bank on it. And I'm not predicting that to happen in this fight. Yeah, looking at McConico on the regional scene too. He's fought some pretty decent competition. He also is trained very good, very highly under the likes of the MMA Lab and Jared Cannonier in his corner. So McConico has a good team to be around. And Dante Johnson, looking at his camp right now, not overly familiar with it. Might have made some moves. So this could be a live dog spot. Although Dante is the pick. Just one I'm worried about. Very worried about. Talk about the undefeated fighters not living up to the hype recently, too. A lot of them have seen defeat, suffered defeat for the first time. This could be that spot. But Dante's the pick. He's the pick. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted, all right? He's the pick. Just not putting any money on it. I'd honestly look at putting money on McConico, if anything. We'll have to decode some of these fights, that's for sure. UFC 330. Maybe Rabbit season will hop on. Maybe Code with the Toad. Maybe some freezing of the bookies with Icy and the decodes. We'll see what's going on. definitely some fights I want to decode. UFC 330. Jalen Turner's back, the Tarantula, 15-9. Another guy with the record that doesn't overly impress you, but hey, he is a very good fighter, very live for the finish, and favored in this fight over KAUE Fernandez, 11-2, who's never been finished and actually has the ability to find the finish of his own. Looking at his calf kicks, super heavy, took out a tough Harry Hardwick with the calf kicks. He's on a 3-fight win streak, and he beat Guram Kutaladze as well, so that's another good win. Muhammad Yaha, not a bad win, knocks him out in that one. So you're looking at these fights, 2 finishes out of the last 3 on the 3-fight win streak for Fernandez. And there's obviously value in the dog. You know, anyone can win at any given time. He definitely has that confidence right now, the Brazilian, in this one. But his debut was a split decision loss to Mark Diakis. And he's someone that I never really seen tested a whole lot yet in the UFC. And I somewhat question his abilities and his, not his fighter's IQ. I believe in his fighter's IQ and his awareness, but I just don't know what kind of level he's at, because we already seen Jalen Turner versus King Green get the win. Dan Hooker go to a split decision. Very good fight in that fight. Nearly came back and won with Dan Hooker, but he's been in there with the best of the best. Losses that have aged well, especially the Money Moicano one. You know, no shame in that. What's a question mark for Jalen is maybe his determination to keep fighting. Obviously, he talked about retirement, wanting to step away from sport. So you never want to hear that when betting on a fighter or picking a fighter. You know, just a question mark on if he wants to continue his career. And I don't believe it was injury related. You know, it was just, you know, maybe not for him. But very talented, 11 knockouts, 4 submissions, has the ability to lock it up on the ground. He's going to get a real test here after Edson Barboza. He's getting a younger Brazilian, one that's been on a win streak. It's a somewhat close fight, but I really like Jalen Turner. If all's good, hopefully all is good. Listen to more interviews from him this week for sure. As far as I know, he's very motivated to go out here and get a win. And it's the size in this fight, 6'3" versus 5'9". Much bigger fighter in the octagon. Fernandez only has the 1 submission win, although he's never been finished. He has 2 submission wins, and 6 knockouts, so more of a striker. So I really can see Jalen locking something up on the ground. He's very slick down there. The real question is, how motivated is he? If times get tough, is he going to be a quitter in there, or is he going to bite down and just go for it? Having faith in his strength of schedule, it's just the mental aspect of the game. Physically, he's going to be the bigger, better fighter in there. He has the better UFC experience. He's showing us more so far. It's just recently his mindset, where is it at, you know? We'll have to take another dive at that, look at some more interviews throughout the week, later in the week, get a good read on it before putting too much money on it. Although it's a pick of the week, potential lock of the week with Icy MMA and a collab there. Definitely one you want to be a little bit cautious on. Now, hopefully Jalen can go out here, pick up a couple wins. He also had that split decision loss to Gamrot and then Hooker. So 2 split decision losses that were super close. Could have went his way too, you know what I'm saying? Like super, super close. He had a big win to Uros Medic as well, the rear naked choke round 1. So this is one of those guys that beat Medic by a submission back in the day, and he's still very capable of that. Sometimes you forget, man. And he can always face the storm as well on the feet, like a Jamie Malarkey, Brad Riddell when he was back in the UFC, thriving to an extent. Like Brad Riddell, Malarkey, they were all firefights early, and Turner could weather the storm, go out there, find the finish. Josh Cooleybow, another win for him. Obviously, he fought at featherweight, which was crazy, I do believe, at one point, just cutting to that weight. Now at lightweight, he's fought some very stiff competition, and Dan Hooker, Gamrot, Money Moicano, King Green, Bahamondes. Fernandez is probably the easiest guy that he has fought. So pretty confident he can go out here as long as all things are good with Turner. Things are good. He's going to look damn good in this fight. Go out there and get the finish over Fernandez. That's the official call and the collab pick. Lock of the week, potentially. We'll just have to do a little bit more digging on his mindset, his mental aspect, the mental aspect of it, how he's feeling mentally this week. Because physically, look at the size of him, 6'3". It's going to be a big tarantula in there. Calling the submission in this one, too. Another submission win. UFC 330. Sometimes you forget, man. Joel Alvarez, off a loss, something he's not used to. He lost to Amazov just like Neil Magny. Pretty much the same way. Pretty quick, too. Crazy how good Amazov really is. We all didn't really see that coming or expect it, especially versus Joel Alvarez, who is a real submission artist. So that was a tough loss in his last one. It went to round 2. You know, it wasn't that quick, wasn't around 1, but he still struggled a lot in that fight. But with Chidi, who's obviously a step down than Amazov, a pretty big step down, he should go back and get back into the win column relatively easy. This is also the prelim headliner spot. I'm liking the finish in this one. I'm seeing a couple decisions leading up to this point, but this is one where I'm pretty much lining up to play chalk with that decision. Play some hopscotch with it. Inside the distance, Alvarez, bounce back spot. Seems like a really good opportunity with Chidi, who is 37, off 2 losses right now. Carlos Leal by a decision, submitted to Jake Matthews on the feet. He has been knocked out. Chidi as well. Out of those 12 losses, he was knocked out 5 times, submitted 4 times. So he's been finished 9 times, Chidi. And I just really worry for him versus Joel Alvarez, who is a huge finisher. Looking at Joel by a decision, he's only 1-1 to the decision with 17 submission wins. But recently, it's on the feet where he's finding his rhythm. He has 5 knockouts, looking for a 6. And his recent finishes are the flying knee to Jakar Close, the knees to Elves Brenner. And then he locked up the darts to Mark Diakis, Diego Moises, the elbows, uppercuts. So you're seeing knockouts more recently than these submissions. And versus Chidi, who will try to keep it on the feet, I can see Joel landing these knees in the clinch and the elbows. Like, those are going to be very dangerous in this fight. And we've seen Chidi maybe not hold up. Not saying that he quit in those fights, but he just didn't hold up when he was the nail. He's a good hammer, but when he's the nail, it's just a whole different story. Durability at this age, definitely going to be a worry. Power will be the last thing to go, but taking the shots, getting walked back, and then dealing with the grappling exchanges of a young, hungry Joel Alvarez at 33 years old off a loss is going to be something else to deal with. Very tricky to deal with, and probably not sustain the positions over Joel, who does lack a 3-inch reach advantage. It's actually surprising that these fighters are going to match up pretty similar in size, similarly in size. So could be close on the feet in round 1. Into round 2, I think Joel will really get his reads, find it on the ground if he doesn't on the feet. Liking those knees in the clinch and elbows for sure from Joel, and not trusting Chidi as a nail a whole lot. You know, Joel can take a beating and he can push through the storm. Should be very motivated as well off his first loss. His only other loss before that was to Arman Sarukian via ground and pound in round 2 back in 2022. Another decision loss, 2019 for Joel Alvarez. The decision loss to Demirez Magulov. So very high-level losses. Demirez Magulov was 20-1 at the time. Arman Sarukian 17-2. And Amazov 29-1. Very high-level losses. Looking at Chidi and his losses, he's lost to Carlos Leal, Jake Matthews in his last fights. But before that, he lost a split decision to Albert Duraev. He was knocked out to RoboCop, Michael Olazechuk. Had a split decision win to Reese McKee, a decision win to Jared Gooden, and he knocked out Zaleski DeSantos, knee and elbows, round 2. I do believe he took a bad beating in that first round, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe maybe he was putting it on RoboCop. That's what it was. He was coming close to the finish versus RoboCop, and RoboCop had the big cut in that fight over CHIDI. And CHIDI let him come back into the fight and find the finish in round 2 after having a very good round 1. So maybe CHIDI could hurt Joel like that fight. And then in round 2 and 3, just kind of start to gas out and kind of give it up like he did with RoboCop. Because RoboCop stayed alive, even with a huge gash, came back and got the win in that one. I was thinking that was the DeSantos fight where he got the win in round 2, but he was on the other end of that one. So RoboCop came back while he was wounded. So CHIDI sometimes not having that killer instinct as we look at the decision to Gooden and Reese McKee recently, you know, can't overly trust him to go out there and get the finish. Looking at his decision record, 9-3 to a decision. Not bad. 15 KO wins to go along with it. Definitely a guy that at this point I would think is going to be more favored to win by a decision, looking at the odds. But Joel is heavily favored, is going to grow as a favorite throughout the week, in my opinion, and go out here and get a finish in that second round. Went a little long with some of these breakdowns, almost 33 minutes in. Those are the prelim picks, full card predictions, some of the confidence levels, real in depth with it this week. So for the main card, we will go a little faster with it. We already did the quick picks, and we're back tomorrow and Friday for the props of the week. 4 p.m. Eastern time Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern time Friday. And then the quick picks for every fight was live Tuesday. And you got to check out the live stream, drop a comment, smash the like button. I really appreciate that. And the boys appreciate it too. Check out their predictions. Official picks will be finalized Friday, Saturday morning. So stay forecasted. IG, YouTube, F3, you and me, let's go. Community is fully involved. So you got to take your chances. Fantasy draft pool is open. We got a list of people to join in. The least amount of points in the fantasy draft gets eliminated and replaced every event. The winner gets that $50. The winner's just the highest amount of points scored in the draft. 5 entries per draft, 1 winner, 1 person eliminated and back in the pool, and 1 person enters in every week. So check out the F3 fantasy draft. Winner gets that $50 from now on. That's how we're giving out the 50 every week. So make sure you like and subscribe as well. Join the community and take part in the videos, as the quick pick show has logos, and we can put a logo for you and then put the logo whatever fighter you want to pick if you're there live during the show. So if you're watching the live stream, you can take part in the video with a logo added in, just like Tyler Betts, Polly Walnuts, and BT, Uncle Fester. We got a few community member logos in the quick pick show. So join it. Be a part of it. F3's here. Toad, Icy. Big shout outs in Discord right now for free, giving out their picks and bets along with F3. The paid section is there. It's in Patreon. You can unlock all channels from Fight Being Forecast by joining Discord. Linking to Discord from the Patreon is what you need to do and should do. Once you're into Patreon, you can link into the Discord, get those locked channels, and then you can be a platinum forecaster. Now let's go. The main card. Let's refresh, rehydrate from last week and weeks prior. New week, new goals, new opportunities. And we got a numbered event here, UFC 330. After a longer preliminary prediction start to the video, we'll go with quick picks for the main card. RIBOVICS at this price is the play. Being 10 years younger, I think he's going to go out here and probably win by a decision in this one, honestly. Barboza, he's a guy that always shows up in shape, puts up a fight, is fairly durable, and I can see him lasting to a decision in this fight. He's on a 3-fight skid. He went to a decision with Lerone Murphy, Jakar Close, and then that last fight was knocked out round 1 to Jalen Turner. The only way I really see a finish happening is early for RIBOVICS. It would be a round 1 KO. But if Barboza can survive that first round, this one is headed to the scorecards where RIBOVICS will be having the high volume and accuracy to get his hand raised on that judge's scorecard. Like I'm saying, if there is a finish, it's probably round 1 for RIBOVICS in this one. Minus 550, minus 500. Can't go against it, but I do think he just needs a decision in this fight. Don't see the submission happening. Bryce Mitchell also took Edson to a decision, and we've seen Bryce outbox him. RIBOVICS going to look to do the same. Can he find the finish? It would have to be round 1. Looking at RIBOVICS, had the decision with Elves Brenner. Close to the finish at points in that fight, but Brenner held up. Daniel Zellhuber, a split decision there. Ends up on the right side of it, but it was a very close fight, and then a split decision with Nazareth Hackers right after that. So some decisions recently in that Elves Brenner fight, from what I remember, in that 3rd round, though, he was really putting it on Elves Brenner, very close to the finish. So maybe even a 3rd round RIBOVICS play here, if it's not the first. But the official call will be a decision for Esteban RIBOVICS. Not a whole lot of confidence he's going to go out here and get the finish, although Edson's older and slowing down. So we're going to look at the odds, see where the bookies price some of these props this week, come back on the Prop Fiend show and lock in. For right now, I'm going to call that decision win for the big betting favorite, Esteban RIBOVICS. Besides that, head kick round 1 to Terrence McKinney. He has been going the decision quite a bit, like Camuela Kirk decision win, and then the Loic Radzhabov fight. He lost by a decision there, his first fight in the UFC. Taken down quite a bit. He has been able to adjust those takedowns and the takedown defense. So hopefully Edson doesn't eat away too much time on the ground. I don't think Edson's even going to have much success getting it to the ground at all either. So I'm going to say it takes place on the feet, and that finish is super live. Maybe I do switch to the KO later in the week, as I could see it in round 1 or 3. Just one that tough to see the KO over the decision. I can see both, honestly. We'll have to think a little bit more on the outcome, but RIBOVICS at this price is the play. And that prediction wasn't overly quick, for sure. This one, we're going ABDUL-MALIK. And I forgot to fix the slides. It's MANSUR ABDUL-MALIK. So, forgot to fix the slides there. Massive favorite goes out here. Should get the finish too. I think I'll say he gets to finish round 2. But this is another one I'm like, it could be a decision. He might just need a decision. Honestly, looking at that last fight, I would say he probably does need a decision. And the fight with Cody Brunage that he had, it went the distance. And I think with STOLTZFUS, he's not that bad. And he's not plus 450. He's certainly live. He has good boxing. He looked not too hefty in his last fight, but the fight with Marc-Andre Barriault ended up finding the KO in the pocket. Still can strike. Had the submission win to Punahele Soriano, who is a respectful fighter. Obviously caught to the Hulk, Bruno Fieta. But he held up to a decision with Nursultan Ruzaboev. So looking at STOLTZFUS and his fights, has fought at a high level, has put up a good fight in a lot of these. A guy I'm not looking to write off at this price. Odds obviously wide. I'm going to say Mansour can find the KO, implement his game probably in round 2. But if he doesn't, I'm going to say another decision here for a big favorite. Now, these big favorites winning by a decision could be a theme. We'll have to keep our eyes on it. But for some reason, I'm just sensing a decision for a lot of these big betting favorites in Philly. Although the finish might be live majority of the fight, I just don't see them getting it. So actually, with the official call on MANSUR ABDUL-MALIK, I might actually have a decision on my official picks here. So I'm going to double check real quick. I ended up going with a finish round 2, but not confident at all he can get that finish. Confident he wins. But even at this price, I'm not playing the money line on anything. It's not worth it. It's just adding more risk than value at minus 600, in my opinion. He's not that much of a lock, and you won't see the lock of the week on this fight. That's for sure. 10 locks of the week in a row. Definitely want to be smart and calculated with it. Don't just want to pick these huge betting favorites because it's never a guarantee. Nothing's a guarantee in MMA. And I'm going to give a lot of respect to STOLTZFUS in this fight. Now, same with this one. Want to give a lot of respect to Charles Johnson, so I can pretty much give the exact same breakdown for Jose Ochoa as I did for MANSUR ABDUL-MALIK, and basically the same one for Esteban RIBOVICS. All three predictions, pretty well the same thing. Now, I guess their game plan, go into that more. We'll go into this one, I guess, since they're all pretty much the same. It's just going to hopefully take place on the feet for the most part. Neither guy's going to be able to have the ability to get it to the ground. Maybe Jose Ochoa training with Shooter Box and Charles Oliveira and them might be able to have nice reversals and get it back to the feet. But I think both fighters really want to keep this one standing. The thing you got to be most careful of with this underdog, I guess, Charles Johnson, those respectful wins that you're going to hear about from every prediction this week. You hear Loney Kavanagh and Joshua Van the champ. Yeah, he beat them. Fluke wins, maybe, but he can do it again here as a big betting underdog. I'm just going to say he doesn't. Jose Ochoa is going to go out here and win, maybe by a decision, again, being the better striker, cleaner on the feet, landing with more accuracy and volume, being able to stop any takedowns that come his way. If he does get taken down, his reversals and scrambles are going to be clean, just like RIBOVICS, just like MANSUR ABDUL-MALIK. And I would almost favor this fighter on the ground too, just like MANSUR and Esteban, RIBOVICS, all three of them, I think they can scramble on the ground and get it back to the feet. And even if they want to keep it on the ground, I think they can keep it there too and have success. Just a more well-rounded fighter. Odds indicate that too. Just always got to be careful of some live dogs. Every dog has a different story. And with Charles Johnson, you know, he's upset some of the best in the division already as a big dog in least expected spots. Is this one of those least expected spots? Maybe so. So I would be certainly careful and not lock in on Ochoa. He will be the pick by decision. Knockout could be live too, but official call on this one will be the decision. Most confident in the finish with this second fight on the main card, is it? MANSUR ABDUL-MALIK, probably most confident with the finish here in that second round. He does have a really good submission ability too. He's not just a guy that goes out there on the feet and wins by KO. He has 2 submission wins, and we've seen one of them very recently to Antonio Broccoli. Remember the broccoli? Oh my gosh. If it's broccoli, if it looks like broccoli, it's broccoli. That's what we said, yeah. If it looks like broccoli, it's broccoli. If it looks like Tricoli, it's a fucking vegetable. Well, standing guillotine round 1. I don't think the submission is going to happen a whole lot, but I definitely like his wrestling, and you can see where the submission could be live for MANSUR ABDUL-MALIK in really any of his fights with that power on the ground and his wrestling intent. STOLTZFUS probably just outmatched, outpowered in the exchanges on the ground, and I think both guys training at a high level, high credited gyms. Killcliff FC for STOLTZFUS and ABDUL-MALIK, very well trained at MMA Masters. So very competitive fight, in my opinion, looking at some previous ones for these guys, and one that could easily go to the scorecards. STOLTZFUS, if he's willing to put himself in the fire, I just fear a little bit what's coming back his way with the real power and intent from MANSUR ABDUL-MALIK. If he can get it under the chin, you know, it could be night-night. He does have a real strong squeeze and grip too. And those clubbing shots, not easy. 4-4, losing to inside the distance and decision to STOLTZFUS. So it is 50-50, you know, knocked out 2 times, submitted twice, lost 4 decisions. It's 50-50 looking at it if he's going to lose inside the distance or by a decision. Looking at his decision losses, Ruzoboev, Gastelum, knocked out to Bruno Fieta, kind of a similar stocky style to MANSUR. And then you see the round 3 submission win versus Rodolfo Vieira and Gerald Meerschaert. So I kind of could see that happening in this fight. Mansour, ABDUL-MALIK should be levels above where they were at. Maybe not, though. Respectful fighters when they were in 2021 for sure. GM3 has so many submission wins, but the physical specimen, Mansour, ABDUL-MALIK, and the age 28 should be making these improvements to go out here in style on STOLTZFUS. The most confident finish out of the 3 here. Although Edson Barboza is looking like the oldest, potentially the one that could be slowing down the most. So another live finish. All 3 I could see winning a decision. So talking about these 3 together, pretty much the same prediction. Big betting favorites. All 3 I could honestly see winning by a decision. Heard it again. Most confident finish would be this fight. Mansour, ABDUL-MALIK over STOLTZFUS, and not too confident saying that. Not overly confident saying RIBOVICS is going to go win a decision either, you know. Finish is super live. Tough to play these fighters at this price too. I'd be most careful with a OCHOA out of the 3 as well. I think the most live dog could be Charles Johnson just from the Joshua Van fight, Loney Kavanagh. But besides that fight, STOLTZFUS could be the most live dog. You know, he's fought some very good guys. Mansour, ABDUL-MALIK, still 28, has a lot of room to improve and grow. Has only seen defeat once in a Cody Brundage fight. We definitely seen a lot of room for improvement. Even in his last fight, he's off a loss too. Like, motivation can't be that high off that loss, and finished in round 3. So a little bit of a question mark for Mansour, ABDUL-MALIK in this fight. So we're going to have to decode a couple of these fights here. UFC 330. We got the same prediction for basically 3 fights, different styles though, different dogs with a different story. And you heard my prediction on them. Now we got Canada going for the belt. Have to hope we bring gold back to Canada where it belongs. Now, it's not a biased pick whatsoever. I think Mackenzie Dern has proven enough to me. Looks aren't everything. And realistically on the feet, Robertson can make it dirty. She can land with volume, with serious intent, have that damage at the end of the fight. Looking at Mackenzie Dern as well and her percentages in some of the fights, getting the takedown, not overly impressive, definitely can struggle at times. And Robertson can keep it standing. She can even reverse position, in my opinion, having good wrestling exchanges in this fight. Maybe not the better wrestler. I'd be very interested to see that, but more of a pick'em fight than plus 185 for my Canadian. Now, biasy aside, like, that's my honest opinion. It should be a pick'em fight. I think Robertson is the better striker, and I think that's where Dern needed the most improvements. Dern's very good with the submission, but we go out and see her win multiple decisions recently. Her last fight to get the belt was a decision, and she did have a little bit of time off as she had a baby. Her most recent loss was to Amanda Lemos, who Robertson just recently beat. You see Jessica Andrade land the KO in 2023 versus Mackenzie Dern. I know it was 3 years ago, but still not that long ago. Not that long ago. Marina Rodriguez won a decision with Mackenzie Dern. There's just some fights for sure where I can see Gillian Robertson coming out here and getting the win. At 31 years old, Canada needs a champion, but she's up against a girl that's 33 years old at UFC 330. So the task probably won't be easy for her. The Amanda Lemos fight, a little bit different matchup at a different time, still a dominant performance from Robertson. And you do the MMA math again. Marina Rodriguez beat Mackenzie Dern, and that was the win before Amanda Lemos for Gillian Robertson. So another dominant one, looking at the MMA math, that actually really favors Robertson. Ended up knocking out Marina Rodriguez in the second round in that fight. Has controlled a lot of her fights on the ground with the wrestling. So to see Mackenzie out-wrestle her, I just don't overly see it at plus 185, minus 225 going back towards the favorite. I just don't see her looking like that in this fight with the wrestling or with the striking, in my opinion. The first fight that we've seen from Mackenzie in a while was that last fight, in my opinion. She's not overly active. That Verna fight was in October 2025. And before that, January. So a couple months off there. And before that, August 2024. I guess they're spread out pretty good, but still one fight a year. She had that little bit of time off with the baby and stuff, and maybe a divorce. And that was always a question in her actual last fight, like the divorce and everything that was going on. She ends up using it as motivation. But now that that's kind of out of the way, what's extra motivation in this fight? This is stylistically a tougher fight, in my opinion, and a hungrier dog from Canada, Robertson. So I didn't pick many underdogs this event. This will be one from Canada. I go with women's underdog, co-main event, going for gold, going for glory. Can't wait to watch history be made once again. And credit to the other side, as Mackenzie Dern was always one of my favorite fighters in this division, you know, for sure. One of my favorites, hyped up since day one. But when you have to go to battle with a Canadian, I'm going with the Canadian. I got the jersey within reaching distance. I'm from Canada. I was born and raised in Canada. I'm not going against the Canadian, especially in a matchup where you give me plus money, plus 185 in a pick'em. Yeehaw. Yeehaw. Looking at the main card so far, I think Robertson's the most live dog out of these first three that we talked about. Undoubtedly. Undebatably. The most live dog. On the whole main card, because we finished it off with Islam Makhachev. The whole main card, the most live dog, is the co-main event, because Ian Machado Garry is going to try to keep it a striking battle. Can he keep it striking the whole fight? 25 minutes? Another question. I think Islam is going to get it to the ground at some point, can find a submission at some point, and can even strike with Ian Garry. Has the better boxing, is going to land with the harder shots, be more precise with it. His kicks are very deadly too. Talking about the Volkanovski fight, a shorter fighter. Now he gets a guy taller than him, 6'3". So the kicks might be better with calf kicks, taking out the footing of Ian Garry, because he's going to be strong in that lead leg. So if Makhachev can really chop that tree down early, he's going to have a lot of success later in this fight, and especially finding those takedowns once you have a wounded Ian Garry. Chopping that tree down early would be the plan for Makhachev, but at the end of the day, I do see him finding a finish in this fight over Ian Machado Garry. 17-1, put up one hell of a fight with Shavkat Rakhmonov, and that was his only loss. He beat Carlos Prates, dominant decision in his last fight, to remember the name, Bilal Muhammad. So Ian Garry, guy you can't really write off either, especially at almost 4-1 odds. But I think Islam is just levels above not only Ian Garry, the rest of the division, and he's going to show his levels. He's going to drop his levels, get a takedown in this fight, find that finish in Philadelphia. Islam Makhachev. Last one was a decision win for him there. He's had a good bit of time off, 8 months. He should come into this one fresh, ready to go. His last title defense was at 155 before challenging Jack Della Maddalena in that last fight. So this will be his first title defense. He defended the belt at 155 versus Volkanovski, Dustin Poirier, and Money Moyakano on very short notice. Got the submission round one, found the Darce versus Poirier. And we already hear talks of Machado Garry being very aware of the Darce. So I'd say he's aware of the arm triangle that Islam got versus Charles too, as Charles and Ian have put in some work, some time together. I think Ian can defend the Darce in this fight. I don't think it'll be a Darce. I don't think it'll be an arm triangle. I could see it being ground and pound, rear naked choke. I'd probably lean with the rear naked choke, ground and pound, second option. I'd probably count out the arm triangle, that we've seen multiple times, and the Durst choke and the head kick. I don't see any of those happening in this fight. I'm calling the ground and pound or rear naked choke for Islam Makhachev in this fight. And I think it'll be maybe in championship rounds. And it wouldn't shock me if it's early either with Islam Makhachev. Can't wait to code this fight, talk more about it on UFC Decode, UFC 330 with some special guests. So stay forecasted. We'll see what's going on. Stay hydrated, stay refreshed, keep the mind right, keep the body right, and we're going to do all right in Philly. Like and subscribe. Went through it pretty quick. Pretty big card, though. We're going to run through it in under an hour. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Stay forecasted for the quick picks that are live every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. That's normally the time frame on the show, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Run it within 30 minutes, and then we're live for an hour and 30 minutes every Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern time for the Prop Bean Show. Can't wait for that. Big special guest joining here, 10-7 MMA. And then we got the new intro for MMA Toad as well. Big interview coming up Sunday. Leaking the info now. Chris Padilla, Fight Week, UFC Sacramento. So we're working on the content for that. Another interview coming up. And maybe Marquel Medeiros as well. Same card as well. They just fought each other to a draw. So stay forecasted. Interviews coming up. The Leo Bonet interview is out now. Like, comment, subscribe. Support the buys and gals tuning in. Because without the teamwork, the dreams don't work. Thank you, F3, and everyone dropping comments. Please let me know your favorite underdog pick. If it's Robertson, Gillian Robertson, you already know I'm going to be on your good side, and you're going to be on my good side. We're going to be buddies. Let's go, Canada. A little biased in that co-main, but you will be on my good side for sure if you comment Gillian Robertson's your favorite underdog this week, because she might be mine. She might be mine. To finish it off, some other underdog opportunities. Thinking I didn't pick another one on this event. The only one was Neil Magny, who is plus 105. I'll actually go here now. See these odds. Bet 365 Wednesday. See if Neil Magny's still an underdog. And yeah, he's plus 110. So not loving that line a whole lot on Neil Magny. Might even be one where I'm like, damn, 70% picking Neil Magny and he's still plus 110. You know, if nothing changes here in the next 2 days, I might be changing something because I don't feel overly comfortable with that one. And another one I didn't feel comfortable with was on Dana White's Contender Series week 1, John Kuhneman. 4-1 favorite when I broke it down. It was plus 300 for Cropshot, who ended up getting that contract last night on the Contenders. Plus 300 for Cropshot. And the day of the fight, we started seeing some books make it a coin flip fight. Plus 190 was the final price on Bet 365. So some big movement, a little bit suspicious movement. And 87% we're picking the favorite, Kuhneman, in that fight. 13% we're picking Cropshot, who goes out there, wins by a decision. So sometimes with the odds that the bookies give versus the Tapology opinion, it's very good to compare. And we offer tools, cheat sheets for that in Patreon. So once you're in Patreon, link up to Discord, get all those lock channels, get all the tools, and start making some financial investments with F3. We can make betting very smart. In Discord, we have a full thing about bankroll management, how to manage your money, how to manage your bets. So you can jump in Discord for free by smashing that link in the description below here now after the show. Because by now, you should already smash that like and subscribe button. See you soon. We're back tomorrow, F3. And we're back Friday. And we're back Saturday. And we'll be back Sunday. And then we'll probably be back Monday. Pretty much every day we got a video going out at F3. So make sure you're involved and a part of the community. Teamwork makes that dream work. Let's go.